Let's imagine that Anne is talking to me, Emma, just to clarify. Anne, I have a cold. Okay, so Anne says here, I have a cold. All right, probably not the best example for me to use during these times, but anyway, Anne says, I have a cold. Later, I talk to John. I tell John, Anne said, I have a cold. Okay, so I'm reporting to John what Anne told me. Anne told me I have a cold. I tell John later, Anne said, I have a cold. Now, when you directly use the same words that the other person told you, we call this quoted speech. Okay? Quoted speech, because you literally quote exactly what the person said. And this is fine. Okay? You can just use this. It's absolutely fine. However, I could also say to John, Anne said she had a cold, or Anne said that she had a cold. That is completely optional. It doesn't change anything. You can use that or you can remove it. Anne said that she had a cold. Anne said she had a cold. They mean exactly the same thing. In today's lesson, I've purposely removed that. I've just not used it. Personal preference. It doesn't mean that I always use it without that. Sometimes I do say that, sometimes I don't. But in today's lesson, for consistency, I've chosen not to use that, but you can do. All right? So I say to John, Anne said that she had a cold, or Anne said she had a cold. So let's compare. Anne originally said, I have a cold. Now I have a cold, right? If I talk to John, and I tell John, Anne said, I have a cold. Quoted speech. I use the same tense. I have a cold, right? Reported speech. Emma. Anne said she had a cold. She had a cold. Now, when we're using reported speech, this is where it gets a little bit confusing for some students because we change the tense. So here, in reported speech, to report what Anne had said, I use a different tense. So, we've got present simple with what Anne said. If I quote her, I keep present simple. But if I use reported speech, I use past simple. So let's talk about the rules. I've got different tenses in this lesson. The first ones we're going to look at are present tenses. So we've got here present simple, I like chocolate. Okay, so John says to Emma, I like chocolate. Then later, Emma talks to, well, I don't know what her name is, Maria. Okay, Emma then talks to Maria, and Emma says to Maria, John said he liked chocolate. So if the person, the original person, John, uses the present simple, when I report what John said to Maria, I use past simple. John said he liked chocolate. Is this making sense so far? So with the second one, present continuous, John says, I am eating lunch. I then, when I tell Maria what John said, I use John said he was eating lunch. Okay, was eating. So when you use present continuous with the first person, and then I tell another person what that person said, I use past continuous. You see here? So present simple, past simple. Present continuous, past continuous. That's it. All right? Here are some others. So we've got past simple. So if I use past simple, well, if John uses past simple, I left work at 5 p.m. Then I use past perfect when I tell Maria. It's easy so far. So far, yes. Does the punctuation of that matter? Punctuation matters, yes. Does that matter? No. As I explained, it's optional. Okay? John said that he left. Okay, going back up here, sorry. John said that he liked chocolate. John said he liked chocolate. No difference. All right, as I explained earlier. So, past simple, I use past perfect. I left work at 5 p.m. John told me I left work at 5 p.m. I then tell Maria, John said he had left work at 5 p.m. Past perfect. John says to me, I have lived in Spain. I then tell Maria, John said he had lived in Spain. Past perfect again. John says to me, I had eaten. Past perfect. I then, when I talk to Maria, use past perfect again. John said he had eaten. John said he had eaten. Okay? So notice all of these, past simple, present perfect, and past perfect, we use past perfect when we use reported speech. Easy, right? There's only one exception when we're talking about the past. So if John uses a past continuous and he says, I was walking home, then we use past perfect continuous. All right? John said he had been walking home. We don't use past perfect with that one. It's the only exception when we're talking about the past. Make sense so far? Why past perfect is reported speech doesn't change. Just how it is, mate. Just how it is. I don't make the rules. I just tell you them. Yes, it's clear so far. I'm very happy to hear that. Great. Okay, no one has any other questions so far. Perfect. So let's move on. So that's the past covered. So we've talked about the present. Present simple goes to past simple. Present continuous goes to past continuous. Easy, right? Then when we talk about the past, all of the pasts, we use past perfect, except when we use the continuous. Then we use past perfect continuous. So we keep with the continuous theme with that one. Okay? If we are talking about the future, I can use will. I will arrive at 4 p.m. If John uses will, and then I tell Maria, I use would. John said he would arrive at 4 p.m. Okay, not John said he will arrive. John said he would arrive. I switch that to would when I tell Maria what John said. If I use going to, so I am, you are, he, she, it is going to, we switch it to was and were going to. So you only conjugate the verb to be. I'm going to visit my mum later. I tell Maria, John said he was going to visit his mum later. I only change to be into the past. Make sense? Good. Okay, so I've already answered this and I'm only going to answer it one last time before I'm just not going to answer it anymore and you can watch back. With that, okay, John said that he might, or John said he might, that is optional. It is optional, okay? If you use that, going back up here, Anne said that she had a cold. Anne said she had a cold. That, this word here in blue, this one here, yeah, is optional. For this lesson, I've chosen not to use it, okay? I've chosen not to use that for the pure reason of consistency. Because if in some examples I used that and in others I didn't, I would get people saying, why don't you use that? Why do you use it here? Why not there? It's optional. You can use it if you want, okay? I'm not going to answer that question anymore because I've talked about it 3 times now, okay? And I just want to get on with the lesson. So let's talk about modal verbs. So modal verbs sometimes don't change, okay? On the left-hand side are the modal verbs that don't change. So I might go to the party later. John tells me I might go to the party later. I tell Maria, John said he might go to the party later. I could change it. I could go to the party later. I should go to the party later. I might go to the party later. I must go to the party later. I shall go to the party later. Okay? John can use any of those modal verbs. And when I tell another person, when I tell Maria, it doesn't change. John said he could go to the party. John said he should go to the party. John said he might go to the party. John said he must go to the party. John said he shall go to the party later. So no change with these modal verbs. However, with will, which we've already looked at, I've just done a little repetition here to bring it home and help you remember. Will and can are the only ones that change. So will changes to would and can changes to could. Not too difficult, right? So I will come to your house at 6 p.m. When I tell Maria what John said he would come to my house at 6 p.m. John tells me, I can help you make dinner. I turn to Maria. I tell Maria, John said he could help me make dinner. I use could. So we're going to do practice, but before then, I want to answer any questions people have. If it is about the use of that, I'm not going to answer it because I've talked about it 3 times now. Oh, you've always had trouble with it. Oh, Antonia, I hope this helps. Can and could, exactly. We can watch it again. Exactly, Alan, yeah. If you missed something, you could go watch it back and you can listen to the 3 times again where I talked about the use of that. Any other questions? Would it be correct to say, John said to me that he might go to the party later? Yes, it is fine. That is optional. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. Instead, the word said, do we have another word? John told me that he... What was the example? John told me he could help me with dinner. Help me make dinner, sorry. So, yes, it's also possible. Will is like a boy's name. Yes, it is. Well done. Yes, I'll save the live, don't worry. All lives will be saved. And if you want the PDF for this lesson, I'll also put it in the description below. That's why I couldn't tell the tense every time might is used in a film. Interesting. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Icaro. That's really kind. You always give donations. It's really sweet. I told you I didn't even think I could get donations on here, and then I saw you doing it. And I didn't know, so thank you. Stated. Yeah, John stated that. Yeah, you could. It sounds quite formal, though. I probably wouldn't use it. Doesn't shall change to should? No. Answer. I shall go. John said he shall go. It doesn't change. Okay, so no questions there. Perfect. Let's jump on to practice time. So I've only got a couple of exercises today because I didn't want to do a billion of them and bore you all. I've got number 1. I have eaten all the cake. So John tells me, I have eaten all the cake. Then, when I go and tell Maria, John said, what do I say? Number 2, I will start work at 6 a.m. What do I say when I want to report this to Maria? I went out last night to a nightclub in London. If I want to tell Maria, what do I say? Tell me in the chat. And I will see. What about changing must into had to? No, because must and had to. No. No, I wouldn't. No. Sorry, that's me thinking. I'm just sitting here in silence thinking about grammar. Okay, so we've got someone saying he had eaten. So John said that, or John said he had eaten all the cake. What about number 2? John said he would start work at 6 a.m. What about number 3? I don't think anyone's written anything for number 3 yet. John said... What did I say about John in the third one? John said that he... No one's put number 3. Everyone's doing number 1 and number 2. He would start, good. He had eaten, good. John didn't share the cake. See, that's a different sentence altogether. Maybe the cake was shared, but he ate all. No one wanted it. Good, finally. So we've got the last one. John said he'd eaten all the cake. John said he would start work at 6 a.m. John said he'd gone out last night to a nightclub in London. I also just want to talk about this word nightclub because when I've used this word with Spanish friends of mine and Spanish students, they've got very worried because I know in some languages and some countries you use nightclub to mean a place where you go to meet ladies who dance for you, let's say, and you give them money for dances, okay? It's not like that. A nightclub in England is where you go and you listen to music and you party. That's pretty much it. That's a nightclub. Nothing to do with paying ladies to dance, let's say. But good. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, you guys have done really well. And you're celebrating in the chat. So that is the end of this lesson. It's been a really quick one. So thank you so much for joining. If you've really gained something or benefited from this, or you benefit from my lessons, then please do share my channel. As I said before in past live streams, I don't care if people subscribe or not. I only care that I'm helping someone and I'm brightening their day. So that's what I'm really happy to do. That's why I'm here.